107.5 The Game Podcasting is sponsored by Modern Exterminating, a family-oriented company. Professional, honest, and dependable pest control solutions. We're your one-stop shop for all pests.
Bill Connelly of ESPN put out his 40 most important players in all of college football for 2025. If you hadn't seen this list, I didn't give you any inclination on what this list was or who was on it. And I said you have to pick one single player that's the most important in college football this upcoming year. Who would that have been?
Probably Jeremiah Smith, right, from Ohio State.
Okay.
Like one of the best players in college football. I mean,
but like but are best and most important the same thing in your opinion? Like, because you can be the best player, and I agree. Like, I think Jeremiah Smith's got a good shot at the Heisman this year, if we're being serious. But he's the most important player.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you can go with it.
Because Bill Connelly chose Arch Manning, which I think even put in there like, okay, eye roll, of course. But I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because here's this dude that's been hyped to the moon for forever. He's with a team that is a contender. And by the way, he's in the first category, which is new starting quarterbacks for likely contenders. He's got talent around him. He doesn't have to be amazing. He just has to be good enough, right? Because Quinn Ewers was pretty much good enough, and they almost went to the national championship. If he can be a little bit better than that, again, he doesn't have to win the Heisman Trophy. He doesn't have to be the number one overall pick. Just be good enough, and Texas can win their first national championship in 20 years.
That is true. I mean, look, there's going to be plenty of talent around Arch this season out there in Austin. And, again, he does not have to be. If Quinn Ewers' season last year was any indication, like, again, the interceptions were a little bit high, didn't have the greatest season. He was fine, but didn't have the best season. Even if Arch is somewhat similar in that regard, which I think we expect him to be even better, there's no telling how good Texas could be this year. They could easily finally make it to the national championship after 2 appearances as one of the final 4 teams.
Yeah, and again, he is the most polarizing player, I guess, in college football this year because of his name, because of the hype and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's a fair point that from the important standpoint of what he has the capability of doing, again, by just being good enough, could, again, get Texas over that hump and finally win the national championship. They've been knocking on the door. Again, they made it further than any other SEC team did a year ago. In their first year in the league, no less. Now, yeah, they have an easier schedule in the league, sure. But still, I mean, you got to tip your cap. What they did was impressive last year. I'm struggling to think of a year where we had so many teams that we believe are at the top in contention for the national championship, all replacing starting quarterbacks, because the list that he outlines here, Texas, the odds-on favorite to win the national championship. Ohio State, and this is per bet MGM as far as odds. Ohio State, second best odds. Georgia, third best odds. Oregon, fifth best odds. Alabama, seventh best odds. Like, you're talking about the top of the top here in terms of teams that we just kind of expect to be in that mix. But when you don't know about the quarterback situation, you just never really know. Notre Dame as well, with C.J. Carr taking over for Riley Leonard, from last year. This is an interesting dynamic that could drastically alter the national championship race if all these guys don't pan out.
Yeah, I think we expect a few of them to probably have pretty good years. But, again, what is that level of, like, all right, if they're good enough, that will be all right. Like, they will be able to survive without the quarterback being great. You know what I mean? Like, I think these teams are deep enough to where that can work. But, you look at the teams in the SEC in particular, like, Arch, we expect to be, really, really good. Gunnar Stockton, Ty Simpson. Mm-hmm. It's like those guys in the SEC, we don't know how they're going to be. And that could be the difference between winning a game and losing a game. Because a lot of times, really good teams that make the playoffs, they have a pretty solid quarterback.